we need to care. So please put your hands together as we invite on stage Aaditya Thackeray, MLA and President, Yuva Sena. A big, big hand. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. He will be in conversation with our chair for this session, Kaveri Bamzai, senior journalist. Over to you, Kaveri.
So Aditya's in a hurry because he has to meet the Chief Minister, I think.
Yes, but got about half an hour to go.
Chief Minister reminds me, how was your stint in power?
Definitely didn't behave like a Chief Minister. Because my father wasn't, just because someone from your family is, you don't need to behave like one. But it was, for sure, a huge learning experience. It's basically for us, for me and my father, it was learning on the job because we didn't have the so-called administrative experience.
Right.
And yet to be tackling COVID, yet to be working on sustainable development was something that we consider our personal honor and the opportunity we got. And of course, whenever God wills, we'll be back at it very soon.
But your party has to stay together, no? It keeps
absolutely
breaking into little bits.
I think you should tour along with me. Dry leaves have gone away. And the party is where it was. It's actually growing stronger and stronger day by day.
So what are you doing, Aditya? You know, being in power is one thing. I mean, it must have been an experience, of course, in a very, very tough time. And you handled it pretty well. But suddenly when power goes away, does it leave a vacuum and does it make you think about what you have to do, or do your goals remain the same?
I think what is very crucial is to always remember that power is not permanent and you're not stuck to the chair. For me, for my father, for our family, in our minds, we never believed that we were ministers or chief minister. In our minds, we never started walking a foot higher than the ground. We were always as we were. Nothing changed for us.
In the same house.
In the same house, nothing changed for us. So right now also nothing has changed. We were working as we were working before. We had the same passion for environment, sustainable development, and the things we work on. That's the same.
But elections are around the corner, especially the BMC.
Are they?
BMC elections?
The unconstitutional government of Maharashtra is scared to hold elections.
Why?
Now they've pushed elections beyond the monsoons.
Right.
It's actually long overdue. It's about a year that we do not...
A year overdue,
More than a year right now, that we do not have mayors in about 20 cities.
Right.
Our municipal corporation elections, our Nagarpalika elections have not been held. We have unelected administrators. There are scams after scams that have started happening that we are exposing on a day-to-day basis. No one is there to answer. People do not have a voice. And unfortunately, the death of democracy is first being seen in Maharashtra.
But... what can you do about it? I mean, what are you doing about it?
Keep fighting.
How? You have to
it.
take to the streets
Keep
again?
Keep at it, keep going.
Does Shivsena go back to its origins? Does it become a party of
We're moving ahead, upwards and onwards. That's the way ahead.
What about your own personal goals of climate change, your own interest in the environment? How do you keep that alive? The plastics ban?
That's why I've come here to Chennai because, when I was actually, Sudhirji and, when the team approached me for speaking on environment, and to be honest, in the last 6 months, the only environment I've been speaking about is the polluted political environment. It's only that. So the other day, someone had invited me for speaking on urban development and urban planning.
Right.
Something that I hold very, very close to my heart because that is directly linked with environment.
Yeah.
And today when I was called for environment, I said, wherever it is around the world, I'll come.
Good.
So, it is something which I hold very close to my heart. Not because it is something which is really cool right now or in fashion or in vogue. I think we can see environment change in front of our eyes. When we were in government...
Especially in Mumbai.
Everywhere. I'll tell you, when we were in government, we had to almost give out about 14,500 crores as compensation to farmers in the year 2020, in the time of COVID. And that was purely because of hailstorm, unseasonal rainfall, cloudbursts, and these incidents are getting more and more. Even in the cities, be it Mumbai, be it Chennai, be it anywhere, the days of rainfall have reduced, the volume of rainfall has doubled. So for example, in Mumbai, we would have about 120 days of rainfall.
Right.
It's now come down to about 70. But the volume has increased to about 200 mm per hour, 300 mm per hour.
Floods and
you will have in any city around the world because no city in the world can take beyond 50 mm per hour. That is a standard for all stormwater drainage. If you're a coastal city tied up with high tides, that's even worse. So what is happening in front of us is something we cannot deny. Climate is changing. It's something that's gone beyond our understanding, beyond our control, beyond any mechanism of predictability. And if that is happening in our eyes, in front of our eyes, yes, one is resilience. How do you build resilience? How do you build adaptation for that? But also, how do you try to mitigate climate change, which is what in our hands? One thing is for sure, can we really stop climate change right now? Probably not. But do we act as catalysts to speed it up? We shouldn't. I think that's where we stand.
But these are not somehow issues that win elections, which is sad, isn't it? What wins elections is eventually polarization, emotions, otherization of people. And you've seen that in
Me
your
versus
party.
you.
You've seen that in your party as well. How does a young person like you change the narrative of elections?
See, as someone who's 32 years old, and I was just joking with someone right now on the way down that this is an education conclave.
The first time I saw you, in fact, speaking was at another conclave. When
India
you,
Today conclave.
I think you were all of 19.
I was 22 or something.
Okay,
yeah.
that's 19 to me.
Yeah. No, so I think I was just joking that, calling politicians for an educational conclave is quite contrary and contradictory, but it's...
But you're surprisingly well educated for a politician, if I may say so.
Thanks to my parents, and thanks to my teachers who punished me at the right time. But I think what is very crucial is, you look at the environment in our country today in terms of politics. Every political party is fighting over the past. Everyone's saying 50 years ago what he said was right, 50 years ago what he said was wrong.
Vikram Sampath sitting there. We're going to ask him that question
Yeah,
later.
you should. But no one's speaking about the future. No one's fighting for our future today. No one's speaking about how a city will be 25 years down the line, 30 years down the line. We're all looking at past. Yes, our past glories must be restored. Our past heritage must be brought back. But we shouldn't be fighting and be divided over it. Now, what happens is exactly the question you asked me, that is climate change, is environment a political issue? It probably is not something that will get me votes right away. But just because it doesn't get me votes, should I ignore it as someone who can impact policy? Should I ignore it as someone who can create a mindset? Should I ignore it, or should I start creating a sense of importance for it, trying to bring it directly to the homes of people? Because today, whatever the governments do, be it stormwater drains, be it rainwater holding tanks, be it flood barrier systems, be it compensation to farmers, be it any compensation to cities, the impact, the damage we are facing today for our urban areas or our rural areas is because of climate change. Today, our farmers are in trouble because of climate change. Today, our cities are in trouble because of climate change. I think everything we're doing is closely linked with our planet, with the environment, which brings us back to ourselves. Because very often we think that we as a country or we as a society are isolated from nature. We as a people, as the human race, as Homo sapiens, we are isolated from nature and we are doing a favor to the planet, that we're trying to save the planet. That's not so. We are trying to save ourselves. The dinosaurs went off long back and human race could go off as well. We are saving the planet is a wrong concept. We are saving ourselves. And that is where I think today, if you look at people in Maharashtra, today, if you look at people in Tamil Nadu, the government of Tamil Nadu actually, I've been following the Department of Forests and Environment here, is doing fantastic work. I must say it gives me a little heartburn because Maharashtra was shoulder to shoulder. Now we've gone behind after the change in government, but Tamil Nadu has been doing some great work in terms of climate action.
What are they doing?
There's so much happening. You've got urban forests coming up. You've got the mahouts being trained for elephant safaris right now and protecting the elephants in the state. You've got tons of work. Part of C40, you've got a lot of work that's happening here.
Were you planning to do the same with your tourism portfolio as well?
Yes, because tourism is another sector which I believe can create jobs.
And closely linked to the environment.
Absolutely. Tourism and hospitality is a sponge sector. What we worked on as tourism department back then in 2020 was, one, we gave industry status to the hospitality sector, something that was pending as a promise from 1999. Two, we reduced the licenses for setting up hotels and resorts in Maharashtra from 80 to 10. NOCs from 15 to 9 self-certifications. That's created a huge amount of opportunity in Maharashtra. We were looking at partnering MTDC with bigger hotels. We were looking at tiger safaris. We were looking at beaches, mountains. I think we are
Mr. Shinde
blessed.
doesn't plan to do any of this?
He's been going to Delhi and Guwahati as tourism.
Okay. At least that's something, I guess. But talk a little about this idea of sponge cities, which I really found fascinating. I think it's an interesting, I've never heard this before until I was reading up on you. Talk a bit about this. And really, all our cities need to become like that.
We were at a time, all of us were sponge cities. Unfortunately, now we need to create sponge cities. The concept is simple. You know, when I was growing up as a child back then, and say when I was 9 or 10 years old, my housing society and housing societies around it basically had beautiful big open spaces, and you could play cricket, football, tennis, whatever you wanted to, in the mud playgrounds everywhere. Today, if you look at playgrounds, we're moving towards artificial turfs.
Yeah.
We're looking at elevated podiums where you have artificial turfs over parking lots. All the open spaces between the buildings, which are mud, which are basic soil, earth, are being absorbed into concrete, either concretizing our roads or concretizing the open space. Because of which, we need to have rainwater percolation pits. Today, we're creating rainwater harvesting areas, which is great, but we also need to create rainwater percolation pits, because otherwise, the groundwater of our city is going to go down.
Yeah.
And you'll have huge runoff areas, and that is what is happening.
Yeah.
So what used to happen in one famous spot called Hindmata in Mumbai and Gandhi Market was there used to be water logging every single year. First it was till the chest level, then we brought it down to waist level, then to knee level. But every year when I used to go there with the mayor and the municipal commissioner, I wasn't very satisfied. We created a huge rainwater holding tank with rainwater percolation pits, through which at low tide we throw the water away back to the sea, or we use it into other systems of our rainwater usage. But because of one holding tank, the entire flooding area has become flood-free. Likewise, we're doing for Milan Subway in Mumbai. Now, anyone who served a stint in Mumbai in journalism knows these two areas as the first place you go to if you want to blame a government for monsoons.
Okay, that's where the flooding...
And rightfully slow, but now it's flood-free.
Right. So, as I said, it's one thing to talk about it, and it's another thing to tell people, hey, this is your future, vote for this, don't vote for what your religion is or what the other person's religion is. You're also head of the Yuva Sena. So how much of that mindset has gone percolated in your own party, which of course is famous for otherizing people, right?
So, not really. I mean, that's a wrong perspective to hold, because that's a very biased perspective from...
Isn't that the
That's a fake perspective. But...
basis of your party?
Not really. It's about the locals, which is rightfully so in every state. If you look at Tamil Nadu, if you look at Kerala, if you look at Maharashtra, we've always believed that the first right to jobs or to anything has to be for the locals, and rightfully anywhere across India in their own state, home state. If you don't have enough skill, you get more people, and I think that's happening around the world now. But for us as political parties and as leaders of political parties, or someone who can have a certain amount of influence, if not much, I think it's very, very crucial for us to start speaking about the present and the future. One of the most important aspects of our life is going to be climate action. You come to Mumbai today, and unfortunately everyone's been shouting hoarse about air pollution. And the government's response, current government's response is, let's put air purifiers everywhere. That's a bogus knee-jerk reaction. You don't need air purifiers. Air purifiers are for the room. You can't put air purifiers out in public. Right. What you need to do is identify sources of pollution, track them. How do you mitigate those sources of pollution? We actually created a document called the Mumbai Climate Action Plan with C40 cities. We've created that for Pune, for Navi Mumbai, for Solapur, for Kolhapur, multiple cities where we've actually documented everything on a short-term, medium-term, and long-term basis. I think that is very crucial for us, because every aspect of your life today is going to be governed by climate action. You look at what's happening in Delhi or Telangana, sometimes you have to give holidays to schools for air pollution or heat. Now, sensitive governments do that. Insensitive governments like the one in our state currently do not even recognize this as air pollution.
Right. Great. I want to give an opportunity to young people here to ask questions, because it's very rare to have a young leader like Aaditya here. So we have just about 11 minutes. As I said, he has to catch the Chief Minister. So quickly, let's have
meet
a few.
the Chief Minister here, catch the Chief Minister in Maharashtra.
Well said. Just one thing. I wanted to ask you, how much of what you are now is also because of your father's interest in photography, your brother's interest in wildlife photography? How much of that has influenced you as a person and as a politician you've become?
A lot of it. My grandfather actually had a deep sense of interest in nature and wildlife. He was deeply
Which
into...
we didn't know about except for the tiger.
Exactly. So reviving the tiger, yes. But apart from that, he was very much into plants and bonsais and trees and, nature. My brother is a wildlife conservationist. He's also a researcher, so he's discovered more than 50 species of frogs, snakes,
Really?
scorpions, yeah, all the things that I choose to stay away from.
Does he have them at home?
No, but he has them in labs where he goes and, he's also come here quite often to click pictures of various animals. My father has been a wildlife photographer and has held multiple health camps for wildlife wardens and forest guards. I think I take a little bit of everything from that. So in city planning, I use the artistic sense of the family, and in nature, I use the wildlife conservation bit of it.
Well said. Yes, quickly.
Hello, am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, but we can't see you.
He's there. He's in pink, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can see you there, right.
Yeah, so recently there was a World Economic Forum report about sinking cities, and particularly India, where we have cities like Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, where lakes have disappeared perpetually from British rule until now, and how it has completely disappeared from all these cities. As youth, as future of India, we see lot of reports, lot of scary reports which say that these cities will be underwater by 2050, by 2100. What's your take? How do we tackle this? How do we tackle climate change, particularly in the cities?
Thank you. To be honest, I don't want to start creating fears of climate change, but 2100, 2050 is a lot of time we're giving to ourselves. We don't have the luxury of time. If you look at India as a country today, if you look at the vulnerability index of population migration, of the women and children who are vulnerable to climate change and the disaster it brings along, the farmers, the amount of people who are probably unemployed, the amount of people who are urban youth, urban people, is huge. We are probably number one on the vulnerability list of climate change, and we need to work on climate action. On one side, you have the ocean level, the sea levels rising because of Arctic and Antarctica, sort of melting and the ice shelves melting. On the other side, we also keep forgetting that we have the Himalayas. And if those ice caps melt, if those glaciers start melting, you have a huge region of India that can either go without water or be under water completely. The third thing we're looking at is our sense of development, the way we look at creating highways or railroads or tunnels and overpasses by creating these projects that chop trees and forests, the way we're going that without a thought, I think that is very, very dangerous. You look at what's happening to Joshimath today. There's no word coming out from Joshimath because there's an embargo probably on the news coming out from there. But if you start looking at the way we have developed our cities, first we settle around rivers and water bodies because they were sources of water for us. Very, very crucial. Then we started converting those rivers into nalas, nalas into gutters, and now we have schemes of government to convert them back to rivers. But the fact of the matter is, we as a people, or we as a race in India, largely were nature worshippers. And what did we worship? It was simple, the sources of energy. The minute we converted them and brought them into a temple, we started polluting those sources of energy and we gave them forms. I think that is what has, sort of created this. If we actually start worshipping nature again, and by worshipping I only mean to not pollute these sources of energy, the 5 sources of energy, I think it'll take us a long way. Again, the opportunity for us is, for us as probably the most populous country on earth, if we take a huge step towards climate action, think of the amount of impact, positive impact it can have on the planet.
Well said. Yeah. Quickly.
So, good morning, sir. I'm Sanjit from Chennai Institute of Technology. So, at one period of time, we needed a development in education, and it has become a business, and eventually it has become a negative effect for people. What if the saving environment thingy becomes a business and becomes a bane to people? What will it be?
I think saving environment has to become a business because the fact of the matter is you cannot do work without profits for most businesses around the world. For politicians, for charity organizations, NGOs, it's fine to work as charity. But if you want the human race to move naturally towards sustainability, towards green energy, towards decarbonizing a lot of our life, we need to have profitability. We need to have some sense of achievement in what we are moving towards. Especially, say, something like our country where we're looking at hydrogen energy. We have put a huge target on that, and the fact that private players are coming into hydrogen energy, the fact that private players are wanting to come into green energy says a huge, speaks volumes about the opportunity there. A simple thing like EVs. I know Chennai is going big on EVs, especially the public transport. For us in Mumbai, when we were in government, we were looking at creating a fleet of 10,000 electric buses, at least 40% of them to be double-decker electric buses. We were on the way. Again, we had the Pune alternate fuel conclave last year. We had hydrogen buses, we had electric buses, flex fuel buses, all of that, and flex fuel cars and hydrogen cars. The result was, from that month, over the next 3 months, Pune saw a rise of almost 4,000 electric vehicles by private players. Today, Mahindra, that is creating 10,000 electric vehicles, is seeing a surplus booking of these electric vehicles. So there is a huge opportunity globally. I think we need to move towards it. Last year when I was in Davos for the World Economic Forum conclave, I was at COP26 and then Davos. COP26 was about policy making, was about environmentalist speaking. But for the first time at Davos, I saw a huge number of companies bring their chief sustainability officer along and speak about environment. I think that is where the change will start happening.
Well, yeah, the last question. Okay. Quick.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thackeray. So, I'm an economy faculty. So, generally, there is this dichotomy between the economy and the environment. So, when we need ports, we need metros, we need infrastructure, we need bullet trains. At the same time, we need trees, we need greenery. So, as a policymaker who is sitting, so how do you decide here we need to cut trees and to have infrastructure? Here we need to protect trees, no infrastructure, no ports. So how policymakers decide this dichotomy? And secondly, you are leader of Yuva Sena. So how you are taking in these sustainable lifestyle habitats to your youths and how you are inspiring the next generation with respect to sustainable lifestyles?
I think inspiring the next generation is about all of us working together. You know, we cannot have one sense of, chalo, I'm going to inspire you. I'm not that kind of a guy, like, well, I think I'm inspirational. I love working with people as teamwork. In terms of the first question, it's very, very important because I've always believed that there has to be a balance, a midway for everything. Every answer has, every question has an answer called depends. And that is very, very crucial. The word depends is very crucial. Balance is very crucial because, yes, bullet trains have to come in. Yes, you need to have metros. You need to have roads. You need to have everything. But who are we creating all of this for? For people, for quality of life. If you start spoiling the quality of life, if you start chopping down forests, that's where the problem happens. In some projects, you have to transplant trees. Some places, the trees get cut down.
You had your own case in Bombay, right?
Yes, RA.
RA.
So I'll give you a small example. The RA forest issue is about a very simple issue. The Metro 3 is very, very crucial. We also were working on it. We kept developing it. The car shed was in the RA forest. As a government, we declared the forest, we gave it the official designation of a forest because even today as we speak, the car shed has at least 5 leopards living in the area of the car shed, inside it, and we've tracked it with the forest department's camera traps. Where were we moving it? To a plot called Kanjurmarg, to a place called Kanjurmarg, where economically and environmentally, it would be sustainable because you have line 4, 14, 3 and 6 coming together into one car depot, saving almost 10,000 crores of the government. Today what has happened? We need to have land acquired for line 4 and line 14, which is almost 2,500 crores each. You need to have a depot for line 3, which is now coming up because of this government in RA forest. And today line 6 is being made without a car depot. And this is simply beyond politics. This is for the people. Today, if you look at, again, environment and economics, I'll give you a simple example. For us, when we started looking at our BST buses, we run the buses in our city at flat fares, 5 rupees for 5 kilometers, 10 for 10, 15 for 15. Anywhere beyond 15 kilometers, it's 20 rupees and you can go anywhere. But it doesn't run in surplus because obviously it is a flat fare. Now, when we started looking at the option of electric buses, electric mobility, today for us, diesel buses are around 34 rupees a kilometer for BST. CNG is around 21, 22 rupees a kilometer for BST. Whereas electric buses are working out to about 9 rupees a kilometer. Now, whatever I do is actually going to take me into profits over the next 3 years with the calculation we had done. So, look at what is happening with the agriculture sector. Time and again, we need to give compensation to farmers, which is rightfully, their claim. But why is the compensation needed? Only because there is damage. Why is there damage? Because we are damaging the environment. The damage is coming from unseasonal rainfall, or cloudbursts, or hailstorms, or droughts. Now, these incidents are occurring at a much larger rate, much faster rate, and many more incidents than whatever 20, 30 years have happened in the past. So I think that is where we need to seek a balance where economics can actually drive sustainability and make it more beneficial for the human race to survive and move forward.
Thank you so much. I'm not going to take any more of your time, but thank you very much. And all the best for the many elections that are coming up.
And the political climate action.
And the political action. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much, sir. We request Mr. Prabhu Chawla to please join us on stage and present you with a memento. And Kaveri, that was, I'm sure, a challenge to pack so much into one short session. So a big, big round of applause. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us this afternoon. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being part of Think Edu 2023.